massive, massive win for Everton at Goodison Park. Sean Dyche, new manager bounce, masterclass. And to be fair to the Evertonians, be fair to the Toffees, they were the best team. They were the best team in the press. They were the best team in the transition. They had the majority of the gilt-edged chances in the game and should have gone in at halftime 2 or 3-0 ahead, potentially. There was a good volley from Saka and a decent chance for Eddie Nketiah. A shot in the second half. I want to say it was from Trossard. It may have been from somebody else. I forget now. Good save from Pickford. But Arsenal really not at the races today. They couldn't handle Sean Dyche and his Evertonians today, who just, the crowd were behind them. The new manager bounced, a much better shape, 3 at the back. And it was a sensational performance from Everton. I just don't think you can get away from how good that was. You just absolutely can't. I do want everybody's thoughts and I want everybody's feelings on this match. I need to hear from you now. Jorginho's secret agent is what Kingsley has got to say here. I wouldn't go that far. Agent Jorginho already starting his magic, even though he came on as a substitute. Well done, Everton, coming from a Chelsea fan. But what was it today? What was it from Arsenal that wasn't quite there? I need to know your thoughts and I need to know your feelings. What couldn't they bring? What wasn't right today? I need to hear this from you right about now, my people. I need to know what your thoughts and your feelings are. We're going to get a panel out very, very soon to have their say. There is no doubt about it. But for me, there were issues today. I did think Partey had a poor game. I thought that Martinelli had another poor game. He's been poor recently. Odegaard really couldn't get into the game enough. But a lot of it was forced by Everton and the shape. A lot of it was forced by that. I don't think there's any shadow of a doubt in relation to that. The substitutions came on and really couldn't get Arsenal going. Even at a goal down when they had a bit more time and space, there still wasn't an abundance of chances being made. Pickford wasn't being forced into things. And it was a poor day in the office. There's no doubt about that. A very poor day in the office for Arsenal Football Club. I think that's absolutely fair to say. And credit where credit is due. The pressure was put on them by Everton. Remember, this is the Everton team that went to the Etihad a few weeks ago and stopped them from winning. So they have it within them to play this way. But Dyche got his formation right. The 3 at the back with wing backs, big athletes in the team. And the press was a little less in the second half, but they really made it hard for Arsenal to find space for them to create and do their business. And maybe there was a little bit of complacency in there from Arsenal. Maybe there was an element of, at some point, Everton will become less relentless. And I certainly thought that would happen. Arsenal's second half performances have been amazing this season. And Everton, even when they were leading, they've dropped more points than anybody else in the league this year from winning positions. So you kind of weigh it all up and just think to yourself, how did Everton do this? How did Everton stop the best team in the league this year from playing? You have to give them credit, but then you have to also look at individuals today that did not turn up for Arsenal. And there was a lot of them in terms of the midfield. As I said, Partey and Odegaard. Martinelli needs some criticism in there. And I thought the substitutes individually, it was the right subs from the manager, but they just didn't come on and have the desired impact. They weren't able to do the right thing. And maybe Arsenal fans will feel different in terms of who should have come on, who should have come off. But for me, the only thing I would say about bringing off Thomas Partey is they did lose a bit of steel in the middle. That's what I would say. A few of you agree in there. Terry said the Arsenal fear is real. The Arsenal fear is real. People are going to be laughing at Arsenal today because they've lost only their second game of the season, their first defeat in 14 games. And that's because Arsenal have been a brilliant team this year. But that will not stop me from criticizing them today. I thought they were poor in possession. I thought they were sluggish. I didn't think they were at the races at all. And Arteta will be fuming, and that will come across. I don't think there'll be any excuses from Arteta today. I don't think Arsenal fans will give excuses. This will be about them not rising to the challenge of playing a very good Everton team on the day. So I don't even want to say Arsenal were poor. Arsenal were outclassed by Everton today. Arsenal didn't bottle it today. They were just outrun, outworked, and outmanaged on the football pitch, in my opinion. Now, you may think differently. Maybe the pressure, maybe the new manager bounce got into their heads. Maybe it was complacency. I want your thoughts and I want your feelings. Terry's next video, Arsenal scared of Everton, is what Ashley says. Terry, my point stands from last time. Tell me your point again, bro. I get a lot of super chats. I'd love to know where it is you are coming from, my friend. He only subbed on but J5 was really bad. Lost the ball, dominated by Onana, and slowed the tempo down completely. Arsenal's midfield lost in all aspects, is what. Listen, they did. I mean, the substitution was made, and I think he brought him on for Jorginho to gain some control. But Onana was sensational today, and I think the mood Onana was in, he was stopping any midfield player today. Jorginho come on as a different type of player. Maybe he should have brought off Xhaka and kept Thomas Partey on. Sometimes taking off a forward and adding an extra body in midfield can also help you. You know, there were some different options that could have been taken by the manager, and he chose not to take them today. So I want to get what he could have done differently in relation to that. But as I said before, Everton deserved the win, taking absolutely nothing away from them whatsoever. They were brilliant today. They were absolutely brilliant, and they deserved the win. They outclassed Arsenal. There is no doubt about it. Why Arsenal brought Jorginho baffles me, is what Marcy has got to say here. The last time Dyche beat Arteta, Arsenal lost 5 points after. Listen, this is now there's going to be a big reaction needed from Arsenal. They're at home to Brentford next in the league, and then they're at home to Man City. So it makes this next run of games now even more important to Arsenal. Let's wait and see what City do at Tottenham tomorrow. This will be a massive incentive for them to close the lead to 2 points. But if City was to drop points tomorrow or lose to Tottenham, it would kind of get Arsenal out of jail free. So this is about City now reacting to this great opportunity to close those points down. Ivy here says, deserve lost, no complaints, not the end of the world. Hopefully we can dust ourselves off and bounce back at home to Brentford next week, is what Ivy's got to say here. Let's have a look at a few more of these comments coming through. I know there's lots of super chats. We will get to them. Member chats, we'll try and put up as many as we can. These are the matches we need. Jesus unlocks defenses. Yeah, Eddie Nketiah had a poor game today, and not having that option, I think you noticed it in the latter stages of the game. I did say the season is 15-16. I just proved it. Everyone is saying it. But if it's 15-16, then that means Arsenal win it then. Is that what you're saying, my friend? Everton have all year to get a new coach. Why now? Listen, I hate playing teams with new managers. It's so frustrating. Thank you, David, for becoming a new member. Nana is a monster of a player. Was a man possessed? Yeah, he was sensational today. He was absolutely out of this world good. He really was. As I said before, February is a very critical month for Arsenal. It is a critical month for Arsenal, but even I tweeted, I mean, my tweet was wrong, and we all get things wrong. When they missed those 3 massive chances, Everton, I just thought in the second half they're going to lose some energy, and Arsenal would nick this game. It felt like one of those title-winning games where Arsenal were probably going to be outclassed, not deserving the win on paper, but still picking it up. And the fact Everton kept going is such a testament, a huge, huge, huge testament to them. It really is. Arsenal 18 more matches just like today. And this is where we really get to see what Arsenal are made of. Some people doubt them, some people back them. And that's why we love football so much. That's why we love football so much. Martinelli has been smelly since the World Cup. I've been saying that Trossard should start from now on. Martinelli was a back pass merchant, is what Sports Capital says. Terry, where was Saka still missing in Ake's pocket? Yeah, see, I actually thought Saka played okay today. Like he almost, as I say, he almost scored a goal as an example of a great volley. But he needs support as well. I think that we kind of live in this world now where people sort of expect forwards to be able to, create all the chances for themselves, never need any support. And he didn't really have that today. There was no real support around Saka. I don't really think he's someone that Arsenal fans will be at today. Partey, Xhaka, especially Odegaard in the middle. I thought Ben White had a poor game at right back. And I don't want to take away from Everton because I think their player stopped it. Example, even with Martinelli. Seamus Coleman today had a game for the ages. A throwback game from him. It was like he was 10 years younger again. We told you about Dyche Ball, Jess. We are haters, according to Arsenal fans. Weak mentality, cowardice, scared of Everton crowd. They will crumble. Book it, is what Joshua Jacks says here. We were off today. Chances being snatched at when we need to be clinical. Credit to Everton. They defended resolutely, same as Newcastle, and they could have had more. their midfield was so much better. I did think this. You know that Tottenham fan who goes, "Hello, football fans." They kind of did. Everton did what he's been saying today. Everton put it on Arsenal. They were physical with them. They pressed them hard, and Arsenal just couldn't react to it today. But equally, this isn't time for Arsenal as players to panic. You're allowed everybody in nearly every single title race. There's these moments and there's these games. There's these moments, there's these games. Think about back to the Centurion season when Man United came from 2-0 down against City in a derby. It's a bad result on the day, but they still went on to win the league. And I think Arsenal, personally, I still think Arsenal are going to be okay. But it doesn't mean for this particular game they can't be criticised. You'll get the TPFs come out now and say, "Why is anyone criticising us? Look where we are in the league. Just be happy." You have to criticise. You have to put pressure on the team because these performances can't keep creeping in. And pressure is where you either create diamonds or you burst pipes. And the Arsenal fans need to apply that pressure. But the pressure needs, in my opinion, to be fair. And the pressure needs to be constructive criticism rather than abuse at this. But there's no point abusing after one defeat in 14 games and being top of the league in the way in which they are. This super chat from Sky King says, "Credit to Everton. Martinelli is a passenger in 2023. Drop him for Trossard. We're better to see a reaction in the coming games from them. Arsenal need a proper right back," is what Sky King says. I think Ben White's been brilliant this season. I mean, he was poor against United. He was poor today. Maybe it's time for me. I think the best right back at the club is in Tomiyasu comes in. But then does the manager want to play two inverted fullbacks at the same time? That becomes the question here for him. But Arsenal have got a squad. They've got a good enough squad. They bought 3 players in the January window. And maybe now after 5 games on the bounce, not changing the team, it's time for a little bit of rotation, some fresh blood, and to give a couple of other players an opportunity to make their way into that first team. I think that's going to be really key. C here says, Jorginho came on when you need a goal is funny. As soon as he came on, Everton scored. Dyche deserves a lot of credit. Yeah, I don't think they conceded just because Jorginho came on. I think they scored that goal with Partey's on the pitch, but there was a lack of steel in the middle after that. I don't think Jorginho was a problem personally. Maybe you guys see it different. Let me know what you think and feel. A member chat here from Dan T says, "Very disappointed with the performance today. Was expecting a lot more. We need to be getting as many points as possible. Was Partey slowing down till still feeling the injury scare from last week?" Maybe that's it. And maybe that's why he took him off precautionary. Maybe he only had 60 minutes in him today. That could very much be it. 2 away games to losses. Next away game is pivotal, is what Wes says here. Next away game for Arsenal was Villa, and then you're away to Leicester. So again, teams that you should be beating, and I think Arsenal will be confident. Mope is a menace. He always makes me mad. Yeah, he was just delaying time at the end, and Zinchenko fell for it, and he shouldn't have done that because that took about, I always count these things, I'm pernickety. That took about a minute and a half of time, but they only added an extra 30 seconds on. So Zinchenko cost Arsenal a minute there. They may not have scored, but never get involved. Just play the game. You haven't got time to waste. They have. No one misses Jesus more than Martinelli. He and Xhaka and White should have been off at half time, is what Nick believes. That would have been a bold move, but I hear you. First loss in September. Why are people going mad? Do you know what I say, Michael? Let me take a sip of this drink for a second. I say this. I think some people are going to overreact. Arteta outers are going to overreact today. I think you can be heavily critical of this game without it spilling over into being overly critical of the manager or Arsenal this season. Equally, it's not wrong for Gooners today to be angry, frustrated, or annoyed at individual performances. Because trust me, Arteta is going to be in there now blasting some of them. And if he can do it, fans can do it. Fans are the club. So I think there's a definite mixture there that needs to be looked at. Do me a big, big favor, by the way, people, and smash the like button for the show today. I know it may not have been the result that certain fans that are watching wanted, but please make sure the like button is being hit. Very, very important to us that gets done. I have 2 big fat birds with big fat round bodies, and they support Arsenal like me. We are not happy. Congratulations on your big round birds. What are they? Parrots, pigeons? Let me know. Agent Jorginho, Chelsea did it again, is what Hassan says. I think we felt that coming. Orchie, big Spurs fan here, says, "Welcome to the second part of the season and get used to plenty of such results. This happens to the Gooners season after season. Arsenal fans deserve this Humbling is what man like Orchie, obviously regular contributor to the Terrace. Hope you're well, my friend, has got to say to you all today. Excuse me 1 second. Sorry. This here says they doubled us down the wing. That was the way Newcastle stopped us. Arteta needs alternative tactics for creativity down the middle. But I think that's why he brought on Jorginho. Jorginho breaks lines with passes. The difference was as soon as you did that, Onana just stepped up and said, I'm not letting it happen. And he was sensational at closing down that space. The next game, I think, is against Liverpool at Anfield. Maybe, listen, they played like that at Anfield with the way Arsenal have been recently. They could pick up their first win away in a Merseyside derby in a long, long time. They really could. Totally agree, Terry. We cannot overreact. Still a long way to go. On to the next. Hopefully, Spurs do us a favour. And that's the irony now. I wonder how Spurs fans feel about that game tomorrow. If they win, they let Arsenal off the hook because Arsenal could still go 8 points clear then if they were to win their game in hand. So as much as it'll be frustrating for Arsenal fans, there's sometimes a get out of jail free card with these matches. If City win tomorrow, the pressure will be on and experience of the title race will come to play. Agree. And I think Arsenal, may end up with that test. I mean, I think Tottenham will win tomorrow. I predicted Spurs to win. But if it does happen, then Arsenal will have another big test on their hands. And that's what happens. Jerome here says, never, ever underestimate a team battling relegation in the Prem. Mopé strikes again. Yeah, I'm sure there's going to be a relegation moment from Ty. I don't want to hear anything about new manager bounce. United weren't afforded that excuse when they lost to Villa. Yeah, do you know what, King Cantona? They weren't. I gave it because I felt it. Rivals won't allow it. But new manager bounce is real, especially when you've actually got a lot of good players. Everton have quality of players, shouldn't be in the relegation zone, but they haven't been playing. And the difference between today and their matches under Lampard was shape, in and out of possession, reorganization when they lost the ball in the transition, work rate, and then that desire to press. On the ball, there were still lots of poor moments from Everton. The amount of times they had the opportunity to overturn and transition, but it'd be Onana or there'd be a moment. McNeil in the first half, 4 or 5 terrible touches that gave it back to Arsenal. They're not the technically most gifted team in the world, but they worked hard for 90 minutes. They've proven to the Everton fans we can do it. They will now be more behind Sean Dyche, who put them through a bleep test this week. And that Dyche proved himself a top manager today. He is a top level manager. He should be in the Premier League, no doubt. Mupé always rattles Arsenal. He certainly does. He certainly does. Terry, I put a £10 bet in play. I won 60. I felt it watching as an in the know fan. Sorry, United fan. I'm laughing my ass off, is what Shane says. Asna, let's go United, is what Tariq Comrie has got to say. Love that surname, by the way. One of my best mates has that surname. Terry's next video, Arsenal's scared of Everton. It's funny. It's the third person to say that. Terry, people need to chat about Partey. His decision will cost his team. But he had a bad game today, Thomas Partey. And obviously we'll get the Arsenal fans out in a minute to speak about it. Doesn't mean he hasn't been one of the best DMs in the country, in Europe this year. I don't think you can undo all the good work. But today he was absolutely shocking. It could be connected to the injury. It could be. But he deserves criticism today. As I said before, February is a crucial month. Sorry, I've already put that one out already. This is why I wanted Caicedo, not J5, is what Nadeem said. And I knew that was going to kind of come up today. And we will pose that to the panel when they come out in a few minutes. I want to say thank you to Viper for your first ever super chat on the Football Terrace. He says, Goodison Park is a bogey place and we got diced. We move on. When we lost to United, we won 3-0 against Brentford. Guess who is next opponents? It's Brentford at home. Come on, you Gooners, is what has been said there by a man like Viper. And I appreciate that super chat. Don't cry, Terry. It's okay. No, I'm fine, bro. Personally, I'm fine. I know people think I'm crying, but personally, I'm legitimately fine with Arsenal losing. I'm not an Arsenal fan. And if my opinion turns out to be wrong, I'm really not going to cry. Arsenal can drop more points from their next 3 to 4. They should have strengthened, like Lee has said. But oh well, come on, United, is what Manjay has got to say here. Let's have a look at some more of these comments coming through. I'm just trying to not miss any of these super chats. I'm waiting for one more person to come backstage so I can have a symmetrical screen. I don't know if it's going to happen, so I'm going to bring 3 out. Let's have a little look here. Terry ain't getting any tonight. Damn Arsenal. Oh, okay, I get what you're saying now. Terry come on to talk about this game. Yes, you're coming on now, my bro. Arsenal physically and tactically outclassed today is what Min has got to say. Gary Neville is going to have a field day today. Arsenal wasn't good enough today. A bit complacent. I hear you. We're going to come back to more of these super chats in a bit. I'm going to start bringing out my panel now. Brandon and Egal with me. Let's do this. Welcome back to the show, boys. Commiserations on the defeat. Brandon, what's going through your mind, my friend?
Lots and lots of things going through my mind, Terry. Poor by Arsenal today. Very, very poor. First half, well, let's start from the beginning of the game. The players, to me, looked like, they just thought they could turn up at Goodison Park and just take the result because of how poor Everton have been this season. And we should know that all games in the Premier League are not just as easy as turning up. Yes, we've been excellent this season, and yes, Everton have been poor. But with Sean Dyche as their manager, I expected them to come a bit resolute and be hard to break down. And that's exactly what they was. And in the first half, we lost that midfield battle. We really, really, really was so poor in the midfield. It was unreal. And I agree with Arteta for hooking Partey because he didn't look himself today. And I agree with him for hooking Martinelli as well. However, when it comes to the second half, this is where it's Arteta's fault now, right? Because, as I said, we could see in the first half we're losing the midfield battle. We could see that Arsenal are trying to play through the middle. We've got Zinchenko inverting into the midfield. We're trying to create that extra man in middle. Now, when you're being shut down in midfield like that, you need to try and create width. Now, the reason why Martinelli was so poor today is because when Zinchenko's inverted, he's got nobody to overlap him. And Ben White wasn't overlapping Saka either. So that's why Saka was kind of, not in the game either. So to me, I think Arteta should have changed it by putting Kieran Tierney on and allowing Kieran Tierney to make the overlapping runs. I would have told Ben White, you need to start overlapping a bit more, otherwise you're coming off. And then sort of try to drag their midfielders out wide to create the space in the middle. But we didn't do that. We carried on just trying to play through the middle. But then on top of that, Terrell, there were so many individual bad performances today. It was unreal. Eddie Nketiah, you might as well have stayed at home, bro. Like, every time Zinchenko got the ball and he had a bit of time on the ball, I was thinking, just pass it, bro, pass it. And then when I actually really deeped it and watched it properly, he had no movement in front of him. Nketiah wasn't making any form of runs. Saka wasn't. Martinelli wasn't. They was just completely marked out of the game. And that's why you have to change it tactically if you're the manager, I think. You can't just continue to keep playing the same way. And we see this already, like you've had a super chat about it. We see this already against Newcastle, and Newcastle nullified us. But Everton did it better today because they got a goal, which brings me on to the goal. Why on earth is Martin Odegaard picking up Tarkowski for a corner? Look at the size difference between the two. Like, it baffles me, bro. Like, why have you got Martin Odegaard picking up Tarkowski? At least put Saliba or Gabriel or Granit Xhaka, somebody big, physical. Martin Odegaard. Like, it didn't make no sense to me. And all these super chats about Jorginho, look, I'm an Arsenal fan who did not want Jorginho. I made that very clear. But to sit there and say it's Jorginho's fault today, I don't think that's right. However, we do still have to question, have we done enough in this transfer market to get us over the line? And if we consistently start to have performances like this, then you'd have to say no. But at the moment, it's one game. It's also worrying, though, Terry, because I know it's the FA Cup, so it's different, but this is 2 losses in a row now. We've got Brentford next. And look, don't think Brentford's going to be an easy game because they have slapped up some big teams this season. And then Manchester City straight after. This is going to be a telltale time for Arsenal now. And Mikel Arteta and them players need to get this right if we're to win the league.
Listen, I understand your frustrations. Obviously, Jess and Egal are here with us as well. Egal, do you concur with what Brandon has said there, or do you see this defeat today as different? Like, what's your take on it, mate?
Felt like it was one of our worst performances this season, and I just looked at I looked at this game as we just continuously dropped intensity. Usually, whenever we have a situation where we don't look good, we find a moment in the game where you see us, you see us at our best. You see us click into gear. You see us moving the ball a little bit faster, and everyone starts picking themselves up, and everyone starts to get themselves going. But that just never came today. There was a small moment when just before we subbed off Thomas Partey and Martinelli, where I thought we were gonna do something, but then I don't know what happened from there, but first half we were just letting them in too easily. Defensively, we were letting them get in too easily. It looked like they had the numerical advantage almost everywhere on the pitch because they kept themselves solid. And I got to give Sean Dyche and Everton a lot of credit. Arsenal today, we weren't on our job, and I felt like we went into the game like we. I don't want it to make it about feelings, but I feel like we went into the game saying, you know what, it doesn't matter how they set up, we're going to stick to our plan. And when we seen that it wasn't working, I think Mikel Arteta maybe should have done something different. But hey, he got us here to this point. I'm not going to criticize him too much. I just feel like just one of those days. Every great team takes a loss here and there eventually in the season. It's our second loss of the season. I'm not gonna go crazy about it. If this continues, then I'll be more concerned. But at this moment in time, I'll just count it as a blip, and we keep moving.
Yeah, just real quickly, questions have to be asked though as well, right? Because if I might be wrong, but if I'm right, I believe the last time we beat Everton at their ground was 2017. Mikel Arteta hasn't beaten Everton at their ground since he's been manager. That is just like, no matter who the manager is for Everton, we haven't managed to beat them. Like, that's poor, so poor.
No, but look,
what is the significance of Everton, though? I don't think it's really about he's never beaten Everton before in his career. I think that's insignificant. I think it's more about what choices he made on today that, hurt us against this Everton side. To be quite honest, like 2017 is not Arteta's season. He didn't get hired till 2019. So for me, there's no correlation there. I thought he made an error once he took Thomas Partey out. I think if we had kept him on, injured or not, whatever it was, I think he panicked a little bit, and then decided, okay, well, we'll try to get more possession. We'll get more possession now. But we conceded right after Jorginho and Trossard came on. And then from there, they didn't really sit back or anything like that. So don't take Thomas Partey out. That's the name of the game. Don't do that because all the physicality was gone. And then he took out Odegaard and put in Fabio Vieira. And from there, I was just like, they're just going to run us to death. But I would like to say like we're due a loss and all that kind of stuff. But like, I think this was kind of avoidable. At least we should have gotten a point out of that game. The defending all game for me was suspect. Like it just looked like we were panicked back there. And we just got sucked up by the new manager bounce. And that's not, it's okay to lose because there's a new manager in the dugout. It's just we couldn't handle the crowd. We couldn't really get our game going. Everybody was kind of holding on to the ball too long. It was just very pedestrian from Arsenal. And I can only name two players that I thought played decent, and that's Gabriel and Saka. Everybody else was just really, really poor. And so they just have to pick it up and win the game against Brentford. That's the next step. You can't throw everything out and just capitulate from here because this is our second loss of the season, but it can't become 2 loss, 3 loss, 4 loss. Like, you know what I mean? So I'm disappointed. Like that, I don't ever want to see that game again. Like that was a nightmare, but what can you do? Like they got sucked in by the new manager bounce and, and I'm disappointed by some of the senior players out there because I thought Xhaka was awful. I thought, Zinchenko didn't cover himself in glory. And these are the guys that need to push us over the line. And so, yeah.
I think when you look at a team and you have so as many poor performances as we had especially in that first half, going into the second half, you would think that there would be something that would click into gear, something that we would change. Nothing changed. And when nothing changed going into the second half. And is that on Mikel Arteta or is that on the players to get themselves up for this game? Because I feel like there was a level of arrogance potentially going
Well,
into this
I mean,
game.
I guess my
yeah, go on, Jess. I know I'll go after. Go on, Jess.
no, like my thing is like even last season there was this element of like it's not as bad as it was last season, but like if we don't start off well, that's it. You know what I mean? And like we were really, really poor, and there was nothing within me that made me feel like we would come back. You know, like usually if we're bad, we're just bad. The subs don't help. Nothing helps. And last season, that's kind of how it was too. This season, you know, we've played well, but conceded and come back. But I guess my question, like for Arteta and the team would be, so if we're not playing well, how are we need to win ugly. You know, we need to be able to win ugly regardless. And I didn't see that today. Because if we're not going to play well every single game, but if we have to have tons of time on the ball and tiki-taka and all the possession to play well, then we're screwed because the blueprint is out there now. You know, they know how to play against us now. So you need to be able to win ugly and make it happen. So many players were asleep today. It was wild.
So you're saying it's the blueprint to beat us.
If you needed a reason for Mikel Arteta to need to change that in the second half, just look at how many shots on target we had. There's barely any. I don't even really remember us creating or mustering up a decent chance. We had a couple of half chances, but nothing like that screams out a proper like goal scoring chance. So yeah, it's just.
Yeah, I agree with that completely. That's how you listen. I'm taking nothing away from Everton. They really, really did deserve their win. But to your question, Egal, I'll throw it back at you and I'll just ask this back. If your manager would have made those subs and you'd have overtook the game and won, you would say Arteta masterclass, Arteta's a genius. So I think for me, the way I always look at managers is if they're going to get huge praise when you win games, huge praise for your development, huge praise for in-game decision making. If the in-game decisions make you, because I don't think you were as good after Partey come off. Everton sat back more because they were winning, so they allowed you a little bit more of the ball, but I don't think you improved. So I think you don't blame the whole thing on Arteta, but my point would be surely some of it has to go on him because if those subs worked and Trossard scored a brace, I think Egal, you'd sit there and say Arteta masterclass. Well, he made the changes to try and change the game, and you went backwards. So for me, I think I would say about on today's game, I think about 70% the manager, 30% the players. When you look at those, nothing he did changed the way you played and performed. But then you've got a handful of players, as you've said, Xhaka, Partey, Martinelli, and Nketiah. Those four, for me, really stood out as poor today, and that isn't directly on Arteta. That's how I
also like. The thing is, like, he made the change on a corner. I think was the corner. Did we make the change on the corner, or did the changes happen and then the corner was conceded?
Because I need to look at that just before the corner.
Because my whole thing was like, if Thomas Partey had been there, he would have been on Tarkowski, not Odegaard. I don't think we had enough like physicality in that box. You know, I'm not. I guess
a minute later, Jess.
Okay, so from my perspective, it's just a little bit unlucky that like we concede the goal in a moment where I think he brought those subs on to change the game, and also because we thought we'd have more possession. But at the same time, I just wonder why when we make substitutions, sometimes, especially when we're in a difficult moment, I don't see any change. I just kind of see us trying the same things over and over again. I didn't see us try to be more direct. I didn't see us like, what's the difference between losing 1-0 and 2-0? You know, throw another attacker on, take a defender off, like go for it. We need to win. So it's just Arteta made a mistake today. He was perfect against Man United, perfect in other instances, not good today. It is what it is. You know, I don't think
exactly that because a lot of people are getting on at Martinelli, right, about his first half performance, and he was awful. He deserved to come off. Don't get this twisted, right? But when you look at Trossard's second half performance and compare it to Martinelli's first half performance, there's not much difference really. Trossard looked like he, maybe did a little bit more, had a bit more about him than what Martinelli did in the first half. But apart from that, he was just as isolated as what Martinelli was. So it has to be a tactical change that comes from the manager. Has to be.
Listen, at the end of the day, I don't disagree with you guys. I do feel like the manager is culpable, and he is at fault for not changing the game and impacting the game, because we were losing. It felt like we were losing the game from like the 20th minute mark because these guys were getting
like
in
the
behind
10th minute mark.
So he should have done something. But when it comes to Arteta and how much blame we're going to put on the team and Arteta, honestly, I really don't care. The result is done. At this moment in time, we have to take the negatives from this game and see how we can flip that and turn them into positives. We were not clinical today. We didn't really get any good chances. I need us shooting more and not just passing around the box. I need us to take more of our clear-cut chances away from home. We don't have the luxury to walk the ball into the back of the net every single game. There's going to be moments where we need to just take our chances when we have it. And I felt like Granit Xhaka, I'm not just making fun of him. Odegaard has done this in the past and he's gotten better at it. Players in and around the box are always trying to make that extra pass. Sometimes just fire it and see what you can do. And you know what? The decision-making was poor from in the final third. And also defensively, it wasn't nearly defensively. It was more the midfield. The midfield was getting overrun so much that we couldn't really gain control of the game. So in that situation, Mikel Arteta is culpable, and he should have done something to resolve that issue. Because numerically, they had us, because they had a 4-man defense and they had a 5-man midfield basically, and Dominic Calvert-Lewin was by himself.
Yeah. We've got some super chats here. It says, I don't mind Onana at Liverpool. Well, that's never going to happen. Plus Sean Dice equals Steve Austin. Yeah, listen, I think Jess pulled on it earlier. There was another super chat that says it's new manager bounce, worst time to play a struggling team. That isn't an excuse, but I sat there and Jess will tell you that, when it was still at 0-0, and I actually went and checked. I knew it. Sorry.
It's like it was so manager bounce that I would not be surprised that like in a couple of games Everton don't look like that anymore. Like it was that, it was that severe, but they deserved to win.
They did. They did. New manager bounce had a part. And as I was on my phone, I knew we played Everton this year, but I was double checking whether we'd been home or away. And I was happy because we've been away already. And this might happen to teams that play West Ham in a few weeks. West Ham might have a new manager. You don't want to play them. Sometimes new manager bounce doesn't come in. We got done by Villa last year with Unai Emery. That new manager bounce came in and bang, it was there. Pressure
Can I ask
on.
a simple question, Terry? Was it a penalty?
What on Gabriel?
Yeah.
No. The reason I say no. The reason I say no to the penalty, in my opinion, is because Neil Maupay didn't move his legs. He stood still and kept his body there. And Man United should have a penalty right now, by the way. They should 100% there should be a penalty. Anyway, sorry, we're talking about it. United got a VAR decision going on for a penalty. But Neil Maupay stayed still, and I feel Gabriel went to go round him and kind of allowed himself to hit the player and then kind of dived. As long as there's no movement from Maupay to block him, it's not a foul, in my opinion.
The one thing I will say is this super chat about pressure on now Brentford ain't no pushovers. I don't know if you're an Arsenal fan or not, but the pressure has been on, in my opinion, since as soon as we started looking good. The games feel the same to me. They don't feel any more pressure than any other games. Turn around, win at home against Brentford, and then it just is what it is. I don't know about you guys, but I've been feeling pressure from minute one. As soon as I knew that we were good, I was like, oh, wow, pressure's on. I was like, we're really way too good, So, yeah, Brentford are no pushovers, but we've beaten teams that are good that aren't pushovers as well. I think this was just an off performance, and we just have to put it behind us.
Yeah, we're at home. Thank God we're at home.
Just some breaking news. Wolverhampton Wanderers are 1-0 up against Liverpool. And Man United have just been awarded a penalty. Look, on Steve's,
who's gonna take it?
I no idea yet. I'm just the pressure being on. Yeah, Steve, I think the pressure's always been on. But again, before Arsenal fans start panicking about it, if Spurs win tomorrow, you may go, if we'd have won, we'd be even further ahead. But if Spurs win tomorrow, which they're very capable of doing, it nullifies it. So the pressure's only on if City wins tomorrow. So I would say the Gooners for the next 24 hours, don't panic. Why panic? Because
no one's panicking. I just feel like a lot of people are trying to find scapegoats. A lot of people are going to resort back to how we were. Terry, I think you said it eloquently at the beginning of the stream. 14 games where we were pretty much unplayable, and we have one loss, and it's not going to end the world. But yeah, who scored?
Bruno.
Good for you.
Happy days. Don't overreact. Second loss, but poor game from us as a whole. Martinelli had a very bad day at the office. Jorginho poor, but we move. Humbling my ass. Yeah, again, I would
think we need to rotate the next game and start Trossard. We're at home against Brentford. Opportunity to try out
Some
Trossard.
changes.
Give him-
Tomiyasu needs to come in as well. Ben White, last 2-3 games.
No, definitely. And especially since we have Man City coming up midweek after the Brentford game, we need to, if we're going to experiment, we need to experiment against Brentford at home instead of experimenting against Man City, because that's just going to be suicide.
Can I also say this as well for people that were like saying, you know, Jesus needs to do this, and because Nketiah is playing well, like Jesus is doing this and that. We needed Jesus in this game. Like, I don't know what. We're going to play against more and more low blocks. As people get more desperate, people are going to decide to just sit back and try to nick it against us. So Jesus coming back is long overdue. Eddie is good and has done a really good job, but I find his performances to be frustrating again in big situations, especially away from home. Like against Spurs, he kind of fluffed his lines a couple of times. Had he at least, you know, against Pickford in the first half, at least work the goalkeeper. You know, he didn't do that. That could have changed the game a little bit as well. So Eddie is doing a great job, but don't get it twisted. When Jesus comes back, we need him badly, because against low blocks, you can't play with Eddie and Martinelli. It's not going to work.
100%.
Yeah, no, I agree. And look, there's a comment here to it. Sorry, guys. It says you needed Jesus in these 5 goals. This is the thing. Jesus off again. It doesn't even deserve a response. It's obviously trolling, but it's everything else he brings. Arsenal can drop more points from their next 3 out of 4. They should have strengthened, like Lee said. Do any of you think that if you ball
every time we drop points?
Well, I'm asking the question. Yeah, do you think this is on not signing Caicedo?
I want to answer this. I think honestly, if we're going to look back and say, "Woe is me, we should have signed this player." Who's to say that if we signed Caicedo, we would have still won this game? Like, let's be honest. We're doing hypotheticals. Look at Chelsea. They spent 200 something million. They still drew against Fulham their first game back. Just because you go out and splash the cash doesn't mean it's going to guarantee instant success. Realistically, today we didn't drop points because of Jorginho. We dropped points because we were not good enough. No individual that came on that pitch really made a big difference. And you could say, oh, it was because Jorginho or this guy tried to scapegoat them, but that wasn't the reality. The reality of the fact is the first team that played was our full strength team. They should have been able to beat Everton. We were poor in the first half. We were poor in the second half, and we were unable to change the game. And bringing in Caicedo or whoever else you think bringing in this game wouldn't have made any difference. In the long term, if you want to talk about it, we'll see. But right now, it's just revisionist history for no reason.
Yeah, I agree with that. I mean, time will tell whether it's enough, but you can't judge it after one game. Like Egal said, everybody was poor today. Everybody. You know, so I get, you know, you're going to get fans out there that will trolling us about Jorginho and all this, that, and the other. And look, I didn't want Jorginho any more than a lot of people did. So it is what it is. But yeah, it's a time will tell type thing. You know, you can't judge it after one game. Come on.
Just very quickly, 2-0 to Wolves, 11 minutes in.
Are we surprised?
My internet's so bad, guys.
Yeah, I don't know why, because we're on the same Wi-Fi and we're plugged in the same way. It's very strange. Very, very strange indeed that Jay's doesn't work. Super chat here says, Jess is right. A struggling Partey is better than anything Arsenal have. Let him solve his problems on the football pitch. And I also think that's fair sometimes as well. We kind of saw it yesterday with Mudryk. It was a case, I know he says he's got a cold. Give him another 10, 15, give him a blast and give him 10, 15 minutes. Not being funny, everyone else has ramped up their squad. You won't get past them easily. Yeah, and
our squad also.
But I also think as well, this is a case of like Arsenal have lost today, but it's their second defeat. I think, look, you're always going to get bantered, and I'm not suggesting that banter shouldn't take place when losing matches. What I am saying about Arsenal, the banter towards Arsenal is, I think people go, you can't say they're going to win the league, Terry, halfway through. Equally, I'm having people call me out going, you said Arsenal winning the league. So you're saying it's over already after one defeat. It's crazy. 2 losses in the Premier League. Yes, however, 3 more losses in cups is what Daniel says.
Because we really haven't had a squad to like go on all fronts, you know, like that's just the truth. But if you're telling me that fighting for the Premier League is less important than fighting for the Carabao and FA Cup, you're lying. We're in such an unprecedented situation that We need to put all of our eggs towards that Premier League title. We still have Europa League as well. So you can add up those 3 cup losses and all of that as well. But we've been absolutely brilliant in the Premier League so far. Nobody can say that we haven't been. And in terms of other people ramping up, we've played hard games this season. I know that rivals watch it and they're like, oh, that was so easy. They got away. The only game that I feel like we got away with it was Leeds away. Every other game, I felt like we deserved those wins and we deserved them like nobody's business. So we'll see what happens against Brentford. I get that we'll get bantered for the whole week, but like.
Absolutely.
Let me just ask this, Terry, because you know me, I'm forever the optimist. Do you guys feel like there's any positives to take away from this game?
No.
Nothing?
Not really.
Maybe that we got it out of the way and hopefully that's the bad performance that was on its way. I don't know. No,
I'll just say
really
this.
no positives.
I'm not a superstitious person, but the last 2 times we lost to Everton away, we went on a winning run. So hopefully this kickstarts our winning run again. I don't really care about this game anymore.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, I suppose you don't know if it's a positive today, but if you kick on from this and win your next 4 or 5 on the bounce, maybe there can be a positive if it means Trossard comes in and Tomiyasu come in and you go on a really good winning run and they're playing well. Then you'll look back and say that changed things, silver linings and all of that. You look at Man United this year, the loss to Brentford, suddenly there was these massive changes in certain elements at the club and personnel, and the progression since then is huge. So I think it'll be more of a hindsight than a knowing, but I get you. Tarkowski is carrying Odegaard like he is his son for that goal. He must be sleeping now with his big finger in his mouth, is what Oral says. Oh my God, our fan base are so delusional. You guys thought we were going to win this league, right? We ain't been topped by the end of this month, is what Abs has got to say.
What are you talking about?
As an Arsenal fan, we don't deserve the title if we lose to relegation sides. If Saka and Martinelli are doubled up on, we have no attack through the middle. Odegaard is not it.
Can I just remind people, right, before they come?
Liverpool
can I just remind people before they come in with all these super chats about us losing into a relegation side, right? Man City also won the league when they lost 3-0 and got absolutely battered by Crystal Palace, who were a relegation side that season. So
and Liverpool lost to Watford, I think the year that they were trying to go unbeaten. Watford,
yeah,
I know
calm
we're in the
down.
relegation zone. Like, relax. We have to just accrue the right amount of points against whoever it is. You have to win more than you lose. Like, come on. Like, let's be real.
It is what it is. People, get it out of your system. Enjoy this. Get it out of your system because you might not be able to see it many times forward this season. We've been playing so well this season. People have been waiting for us to drop points, and it's just all the salt and all the rivals. They're going to come out. It's fine. It is.
I totally get that. Let me get through these last couple of super chats here. Time to wheel out the 3 million Arsenal scare everyone videos and then act like reality is going to confront to your wishes, Terry. But listen, the thing is, everything I've said about people being scared of Arsenal is true. Win the league or not. The fact that everybody's after one defeat goes, this is what we've all been talking about, for me proves there is a fear, there is a worry that Arsenal are getting back to the top. Because if you 100% believe that Arsenal were going to flop, you wouldn't be so joyous in the defeat. You wouldn't be so relieved in the defeat. It would be, well, I told you so. But for most of you, it's more, you're wrong. Saying, you're wrong is not, I told you I was right. So that's the thing for me.
I can see where they're coming from, though, Tel, because there is elements to this performance that reminded me of last season. You know, when we should have won and finished in the top 4, but we kind of we didn't perform in the games that we needed to perform in. And at the end of the day, this time in the season now is the do or die time in the season. It's the most important part of it.
Totally agree. Wait until City versus Spurs, this Premier League. Nothing is a given. I think we all agree with that. I want to say a big thank you to everybody that's tuned in today. Please hit the like and share button before you leave. There was another super chat that just came in. It says, midfield didn't get out of bed this morning. Eddie got no service. Performance and fans' energy matched the ambition of this window. Now, I want to thank everyone for coming on and having their say. Please hit the like and share button before you leave. Until next time, take care. Goodbye. God bless, and I'll see you all again very, very soon. Thank you.